it's still unbelievable that the public knows this. Oh, okay. And one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life. Hey there, Chansea here. Happy New Year. I am so excited to share with you my 2025 ins and outs and a little bit of a reflection on 2024. And if you don't know what 2025 ins and outs are, it's the things that you want to bring in, whether it be characteristics, goals, objectives, those things you want to bring into 2025, and the things you want to leave behind. You want them to not be, they'll be out of 2025. So I saw that trend and I just said, oh, let me do mine. And that was a really fun exercise. So I've jotted down my 2025 ins and outs on my phone. But before we get there, I just wanted to reflect a little bit on 2024. In my last video, I did a little bit of a montage recap, but just for you all to hear how 2024 was for me and what it meant to me. As you know, I was traveling full time, working full time, mentoring and discipling full time. And then without my choosing, God planted me in a home. I'm at home right now. And yeah, he chose the location. He chose just the property. And that's a story for another video. But yeah, God settled me and I blinked my eyes and I was on the go. And then I was planted. Also, although I was planted, I still did quite a bit of travel, weeks of consecutive travel. And that was cool. I was speaking, I was servicing clients, just doing the works. And then towards the end of the year, I made an announcement that I am working on my first book. And it's still unbelievable that the public knows this. I actually didn't even think about it that when I made the announcement just a day or so later that I'd be around so many friends and like kingdom family. And I was not prepared to like answer questions and all of that. But if you all have questions about the process and just where I am in the journey, I'd be happy to share. Just leave your questions down below. But it's been a beautiful process, stretching, refining, equipping, and one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life. But it's been great thus far, and I'm bringing you all into the middle of it. So, still working quite diligently, and I'm excited to provide it to the world at the set time. So, yeah, let's get into the 2025 ins and outs. So, for me, I saw people doing trends and they just kind of shared what they wanted, but I did categories because I think in phases, stages, and categories constantly for what I do professionally. So, I did a spiritual in and out, a professional, a personal, and a relational. And for those who have like been to the Cove, I do these categories in so many different areas. Okay, so my spiritual end is that I'm reading the Bible in a year. Although I feel like I've read most books several times over the course of me being a Christian, I have never page by page, chapters by chapters done the Bible in a year. Another spiritual end is I want to incorporate rest and stillness while I work. Stillness to just be able to hear the instructions that God has for me in this season, and just to make sure that I'm prioritizing tasks appropriately. I have a endless to-do list, and the first week of 2025, I had 14 meetings that week. And so it's just very easy to just start running, start doing all the things. And I just want to make sure that I just stay focused in this season and that the enemy does not catch me off guard and that I get caught up in the rat race of building and that I prioritize stillness and rest while I work. Okay, so a spiritual out is taking the limits off of who God is and what He can do this year. In my life, I've seen God work in cycles, seasons, patterns, stages, phases, all of it. It can make you think that you have Him figured out. And I've just seen Him break molds, break patterns. Just recently, where I realized that I need to take the limits off of how I see Him and encounter Him in fresh ways, and also take the limits off of what I believe He is willing and able to do. So I encourage you, like, if that's an out you need to have for 2025, we should have that out together because He is such an enormous God who cares about us, who's so acquainted with the intimate things of our heart. He knows the things that we even dreamt and believed in our childhood, and just Him. Um, Resuscitating that childlike faith again, and that childlike posture, and that glimmer of just who He is. So I'm really excited, and I'm already kind of on that journey, but I'm excited to see it continue. Moving on, the next category is professional, and we're going to talk about a professional end. And that is more speaking. That's one of my professional ends. And um, in previous seasons, I'd be asked to speak, and I just did not feel led that that was my time to use my voice. But I feel um, more of a release now to, yeah, to speak where the Lord has called me to speak. So saying yes more than I say no. Another professional in is just more creative projects. I think that it can sometimes feel limiting when you're a Christian leader that it needs to look one way. And one thing I was challenged to do in a recent team meeting is to pull out of the arsenal some of the promises that have been declared over my life, and also some of the visions and dreams that I've seen, even from childhood. And so I'm not sure, how much of that will come to pass in 2025, but we are aggressively and actively working towards some of those creative goals. And it's makes me a little nervous, but I'm also really excited, and it's just brought a fresh um, fire in me for what's ahead. Oh, okay. So this one is a professional out, and I'm being really honest here. Um, and it's no more like charging or not speaking to my full value. So, as I've grown, we're now just reassessing things. How many hours do I spend on clients? What is the retention or the outcome been for the clients that I've served? And just making sure that things are equitable in those areas, and that it's really speaking well to my value. So, yeah, no more shortcutting on those things in reference to business, and standing on business. Standing on business. I mean, I think we can sum it up right there. The next category is personal, and a personal N is finding a hobby. I do not have a hobby. I mean, besides me doing a two-step every day, just to worship and praise and worship music, I can't say I have something that I just do personally that doesn't have an objective. I'm doing ministry all the time, I'm doing business all the time, but I don't have that outlet. So, really finding that, I thought about things like working with my hands, like crocheting or joining a dance class or something like that, but really trying to find a hobby and commit to that in my routine. I also want to pick up journaling again. I have almost every journal I've ever done. I used to be an avid journaler, but I'm really not a journaler in this season. But really want to just journal with the Lord again, and like an unedited thoughts with Him. My third personal in is I want to explore more with my wardrobe. Fun fact, I do not like to shop, even though I've worked in the fashion industry and all of that. I love good staple pieces. I love a good blazer, a good turtleneck, having some leather and texture incorporated, but just exploring more, maybe with color, and when I say color, I'm talking about neutrals, taupe, beige, the gray, and also with pieces. So yeah, just thinking about that a little bit. And my last personal end is just to travel and not travel for work, even if it's just one trip this year. I feel like 90 to 99% of my travel internationally and nationally has been for work. I was either speaking, servicing a client, doing a brand partnership with a tourism board or something. And so it has been work from when I hit the ground to coming back, but just spending a few days, again, in stillness because I like a relaxing trip and yeah, enjoying some region um, without the pressure of work. Okay, another personal out, and the outs are they're honest, boy. They're transparent, not dismissing like my temple, my body. So just incorporating more holistic health practices in this next year is vitally important. I have been a extremely confident plus size woman for most of my life, candidly. And I enjoy being curvier and will probably always have curves. But there's a scripture that says to run this race, and there's a version that says patience, and a version that says with endurance, the race that's been set before you. And so I just want to have endurance for the journey ahead, even though I don't know fully what the journey ahead looks like. I want to be ready in season and out of season. So that's just been a strong conviction in this season, in this year primarily, to just make health and wealth of my body and my temple a huge priority. So the last category is a relational in. And so I am so grateful for those that are so dear to me. But there's so many people who are dear to me who do not live in my area. And I just want to find that one person who lives in proximity to me, who is aligned spiritually and professionally, that we have like a standing coffee date every month or something. So I have Zoom dates and FaceTimes and voice notes that are like podcasts, or we can meet for coffee or take a walk in the park or, just have some quality time together. So, yeah, that's just something that if the Lord wants to do it, I definitely invite that in, and it's a prayer request in this season. So I encourage you that if there's something that you want to cultivate in relationships, whether that's reconciliation or further connection or just stepping outside of your comfort zone to go to more events, like add that to your 2025 in. Okay, so my relational out, I wrote down being satisfied that I'm not right for everyone and everyone is not right for me. Woo! We are called to love everyone, but we're not assigned to everyone, and everyone is not assigned to us. And that's okay. So, really, have peace that there is territory and people and souls that you will specifically be called to. And then there will be individuals, whether they know God or not, that they're actually called to someone else. And that's why we have so many leaders and we need us all to fulfill our calls, the call of God on our lives so that we can meet the people that we're called to. So, yeah, there just been people along the way where I know that they're assigned somewhere else and I'm assigned somewhere else. And having great peace about that. We don't have to um, try to fit into someone else's narrative or meet someone else's, favorable or broken experiences. And likewise, they don't have to meet ours. And that's okay. So, yeah, that's just a relational out of I can't fit in everyone's box and everyone can't fit in mine, and having great peace about that. Corporately, I really believe that this is a year where God has called us to become the men of valor. I believe there are promises that we will reap no matter what's going on politically, environmentally, just in every way. That there are some great promises that are in the hands of the Canaanites and the Hittites and all of that, um, that God has for us. But we have to be just postured and in the right position and work together in order to gain territory. So I just encourage you, as I'm also just stepping into rightful position to get what's promised to us and to Him. So, yeah, that's just something I have been really talking about in this house. And I'm excited for the body of Christ and what lies ahead. So I encourage you, if you haven't done this list already, this was fun, reflective for me, revelatory to find your categories, what's your spiritual in and out, what's your professional in and out, what is your personal in and out, and what is your relational in and out. I'm so excited for the videos that lie ahead and what God does with us together. And I bid you a happy new year. I can't wait to see you in the next video. Bye.